My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how a simple trip changed my life forever. At 35, I found myself trapped in a marriage that, although comfortable, had lost its spark long ago. Jack, my husband, was a good man, hardworking and faithful. He loved me, of that I had no doubt, but over the years, our relationship had transformed into a predictable and dull routine. Every morning was the same. I woke up, prepared breakfast for both of us, and we said goodbye with a quick kiss before heading to our respective jobs. In the evening, we had dinner together, talked about our day, and watched some TV before bed. On weekends, we did grocery shopping, visited our parents, or went out with friends. It was a stable, secure life, but I felt that something was missing. It was on one of those monotonous nights that my friend Lucy called, inviting me on a week-long trip to a beach resort. She and two other friends of ours, Amy and Rachel, had decided to take a few days to relax and have fun. At first, I hesitated. After all, Jack and I weren't used to spending much time apart. But something inside me screamed for a change, for a chance to reconnect with myself. When I told Jack about the invitation, he surprised me with his immediate support. "It'll do you good, honey," he said with a smile. "You've been so stressed lately. A week of rest will be great for you." His understanding only increased my guilt for feeling that our marriage was no longer enough for me. The week flew by, and soon I was at the airport, boarding what I imagined to be just a relaxing trip with friends. Little did I know that those days would completely change my perspective on my life, my marriage, and myself. The resort was a paradise by the sea. Crystal clear pools, white sandy beaches, palm trees swaying gently in the ocean breeze. As soon as we arrived, I felt as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. There, I wasn't Sarah the wife, Sarah the employee, Sarah the daughter. I was just Sarah. The first few days were exactly what I expected: sun, beach, colorful drinks, and lots of laughter with my friends. We talked about our lives, our jobs, our relationships. It was during one of these conversations that I realized I wasn't the only one who felt trapped in her own life. Amy confessed that she was considering quitting her stable job to pursue her dream of opening a coffee shop. Rachel talked about her conflicts in wanting to have children while her husband didn't feel ready. And Lucy, always the boldest of us, told us about her adventures in the world of casual dating after her divorce. Listening to their stories, I began to question my own choices. Had I become too complacent? Had I missed opportunities for growth and change out of fear of leaving my comfort zone? It was on the evening of the fourth day that everything changed. We decided to have dinner at the resort's beachfront restaurant. The atmosphere was romantic, with candles on the tables and the soft sound of waves in the background. While waiting for our table, I decided to take a walk on the beach to enjoy the sunset. That's when I saw him for the first time. Tall, dark-haired, with piercing green eyes that seemed to shine in the orange reflection of the setting sun. He was walking towards me, an easy smile on his lips. Our eyes met for a moment, and I felt my heart race in a way it hadn't in years. "Beautiful evening, isn't it?" he said as he passed by me. His voice was deep and melodious, with a slight accent I couldn't identify. "Yes, beautiful," I replied, feeling strangely nervous. He stopped, turning to me. "I'm Ethan," he said, extending his hand. "Sarah," I replied, accepting the greeting. The touch of his hand on mine sent an electric current through my body. We started talking, and time seemed to stand still. Ethan was an architect. He was at the resort for work, planning an expansion. We talked about our lives, our dreams, our frustrations. There was something about his presence that made me feel alive, awake, in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. When I finally looked at my watch, I realized that almost an hour had passed. My friends must have been waiting for me. Reluctantly, I said goodbye to Ethan, promising to meet again during the week. I returned to the restaurant with my head spinning and my heart racing. My friends immediately noticed that something had changed. "What happened to you?" Lucy asked with a mischievous smile. "You look like you've seen a ghost, a very hot ghost." I laughed, trying to disguise my nervousness. "Don't be silly," I replied. "I just enjoyed the sunset." But the truth is that night, I slept thinking about Ethan. His eyes, his smile, the way he seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say. And along with these thoughts came guilt. I was a married woman. I shouldn't be feeling these things for another man. The following days were an emotional roller coaster. During the day, I divided my time between enjoying time with my friends and discreetly looking for Ethan. We met a few more times, always casually, always with that same electricity in the air. Each conversation with him made me question my life more and more. Ethan spoke passionately about his work, about the places he had been, about his dreams for the future. I wondered, when was the last time I felt so passionate about something? When was the last time Jack and I talked about our dreams, instead of just about bills to pay and daily problems? On the penultimate night of the trip, the resort organized a boat trip for the guests. I hesitated to go, knowing that Ethan would be there, but my friends insisted. "Come on, Sarah. It's our last chance to enjoy before we return to reality," Amy argued. I ended up giving in, and there we were, on a beautiful sailboat, sailing under the starry sky. The night was perfect, with a gentle breeze and moonlight reflecting on the calm waters. I was at the bow of the boat, absorbed in my thoughts, when I felt someone approach. Thoughtful. Ethan's voice sounded close to my ear, making my entire body shiver. I turned to face him, aware of how close we were. "Just reflecting on life," I replied with a sad smile. Ethan looked at me intensely, as if he could see through my soul. "You know, Sarah," he began, his voice low and intense, "since I met you, I can't stop thinking about you. I know you're married, and I respect that. But there's something special between us. You feel it too, don't you?" My heart was beating so hard that I was sure he could hear it. I wanted to deny it, wanted to say he was wrong, that I loved my husband. But the words wouldn't come out. Because deep down, I knew he was right. "Ethan, I began, but was interrupted when he took a step forward, further reducing the distance between us. "Just tell me one thing," he whispered, his eyes fixed on mine. "If there was nothing stopping you, if you could do anything at this moment, what would you do?" At that instant, my entire world seemed to be reduced to that moment, to that man in front of me. I forgot about Jack, forgot about my wedding vows, forgot about everything except the burning desire that consumed my body and soul. Without thinking, I closed the distance between us and kissed him. It was an intense, passionate kiss, full of all the emotion and repressed desire I had been carrying for years. Ethan's hands wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer, while I entwined my arms around his neck, surrendering completely to that moment. When we finally separated, breathless, I felt dizzy, as if the whole world was spinning. What had I done? How could I have betrayed Jack like this? I need to go," I stammered, quickly moving away from Ethan. I ran to the other side of the boat, my mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Guilt, excitement, shame, desire, everything mixed together, leaving me confused and scared. I spent the rest of the night avoiding Ethan and trying to act normally around my friends. But inside, I was in pieces. How could I go back home, to Jack, after what had happened? The next morning, our last day at the resort, I woke up early and went to the beach. I needed to put my thoughts in order before returning to reality. Sitting on the sand, watching the sunrise, I tried to coolly analyze my situation. I loved Jack. Of that I was certain. He was my companion, my best friend, the man who had been by my side in good times and bad. But the kiss with Ethan had awakened something in me that I thought was dead: passion, desire, the thrill of something new and forbidden. I stayed there for hours, thinking, crying, trying to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to seek out Ethan, to live that intense passion even if it was just for a day. Another part wanted to run back home, to Jack's safe arms, and forget that this week had ever happened. In the end, I did neither. I went back to the room, packed my bags, and said goodbye to my friends. I didn't see Ethan again before leaving, and maybe it was better that way. The trip back home was torture. Every mile that brought me closer to Jack increased my feeling of guilt. How would I look into the eyes of the man who trusted me, who loved me unconditionally, knowing what I had done? When I finally got home, Jack greeted me with a tight hug and a loving kiss. "I missed you so much," he said, his eyes shining with love. At that moment, my heart broke a little more. In the weeks that followed, I struggled with my feelings in silence. I didn't tell Jack about the kiss. I couldn't bear the idea of hurting him, of destroying the trust we had built over the years. But the secret was eating me up inside. I began to analyze our marriage with different eyes. I realized that, although the overwhelming passion of the first years had diminished, there was something deeper, more lasting between us. Jack knew me better than anyone. He knew exactly how to make me laugh after a tough day, how to comfort me when I was sad. Our love was like a wine that had matured over time, less intense, perhaps, but richer and more complex. At the same time, I couldn't deny that the experience with Ethan had changed me. It made me realize that there was still fire inside me, that I was still capable of feeling that intense emotion, that irresistible attraction. But it also made me value what I had with Jack. I decided that, instead of seeking that excitement outside my marriage, I would work to rekindle it with my husband. I started planning surprise dates, suggesting new activities for us to do together. I signed us up for a dance class, something Jack always wanted to do, but I always resisted. Gradually, I saw a change in our relationship. Jack was surprised by my new attitude, but responded with enthusiasm. We started talking more, sharing our dreams and fears as we hadn't done in years. We rediscovered each other, and with that, we rediscovered the passion I thought was lost. Of course, not everything was perfect. There were moments when I caught myself thinking about Ethan, about what could have been if I had made different choices. The guilt over the kiss still haunted me sometimes, especially when Jack looked at me with so much love and trust. But over time, I learned to accept what had happened as part of my journey. That week at the resort, that stolen kiss under the stars, were a turning point in my life. They woke me up from a sleep I didn't even know I was in, made me question my choices and, in the end, made me value even more what I had. I realized that true love isn't just about overwhelming passion and breathtaking moments. It's about choice. It's about waking up every day and choosing to be with that person, working on the relationship, growing together. It's about building a shared life, with all the ups and downs that implies. Today, years after that trip, I look at Jack and feel a deeper and more mature love than I ever imagined possible. It's not the naive and blind love of youth, but a conscious love that recognizes imperfections and chooses to love anyway. I never told Jack about the kiss with Ethan. Sometimes, I wonder if I should have told him, if total honesty wouldn't have been the right path. But then I look at the life we've built together, at the happiness we share, and I think that maybe some truths are better kept. The episode with Ethan remains a secret buried deep in my heart, a bittersweet memory of a moment of weakness that, paradoxically, strengthened my marriage. It's an invisible scar I carry, a constant reminder that love is a daily choice, and that the grass is always greener on the other side because we're not the ones who have to mow it. I can't deny that occasionally, in moments of loneliness or frustration, my mind wanders back to that night on the boat. What would have happened if I had chosen differently? How would my life be if I had followed that impulse of passion? But these reflections are brief, soon replaced by gratitude for what I have. Jack and I continue our journey together, facing the challenges that life presents us. We had 2 wonderful children, Michael and Emily, who brought a new dimension to our love. Seeing Jack as a father only increased my admiration for him. The way he dedicates himself to the children, how he balances work and family, makes me sure that I made the right choice in staying with him. Of course, it's not all roses. We have our arguments, our moments of frustration. There are days when the routine seems to suffocate us, when responsibilities seem too heavy. But we've learned to face these moments together, to support each other through difficult times. One of the most important lessons I've learned over the years is the importance of maintaining my own identity within the marriage. After that trip to the resort, I started investing more in myself. I went back to studying, fulfilling an old dream of doing a postgraduate degree. I started practicing yoga, which became not just a physical exercise, but a way to connect with myself. Jack always supported me in these initiatives, even when it meant I would have less time for him and for the house. His confidence in me and his unconditional support only reinforced my love and respect for him. As the years passed, I saw many marriages around us crumble. Friends who seemed like the perfect couple separated, some amid scandals of infidelity, others simply because the love ran out. Each time this happened, I found myself reflecting on my own marriage, on that kiss on the boat, on the choices I made. On one of these occasions, after the tumultuous divorce of some close friends, I had a deep conversation with Jack. We were sitting on the porch of our house, drinking wine and observing the stars, when he asked me, "Sarah, are you happy with me? I mean, truly happy?" The question caught me off guard. For a moment, flashbacks of that night on the boat with Ethan passed through my mind. I felt a tightness in my chest, a mixture of guilt and nostalgia. But then, I looked into Jack's eyes, saw the genuine love and concern reflected there, and knew exactly what to answer. "Yes, Jack. I'm happy with you. It's not a fairy tale happiness, it's not perfect or without challenges. But it's real, it's deep, it's ours. You make me want to be a better person every day. With you, I feel safe to be who I am, with all my flaws and imperfections. And that, for me, is worth more than any fleeting passion or intense emotion." I saw Jack's eyes fill with tears. He took my hand and kissed it softly. "Thank you for choosing to stay with me every day," he said with a choked voice. At that moment, I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. I realized that, despite all the doubts, all the what-ifs, I had really made the right choice. The love we shared was stronger and more valuable than any fleeting adventure could have been. As we grow old together, our connection only deepened. We learned to read each other without words, to anticipate each other's needs. We developed rituals and inside jokes that only we understand. We built a life together, full of memories, shared moments, small victories, and great challenges overcome side by side. Sometimes, when I'm alone, I still think about Ethan. Not with regret or desire, but with a kind of distant gratitude. That encounter, that stolen kiss, served as a catalyst for important changes in my life. They made me question, reevaluate, and, in the end, reaffirm my commitment to Jack and our life together. I know I'll never be sure how my life would have been if I had made different choices on that trip. Maybe I would have had a great passion with Ethan. Maybe we would have had a torrid and brief relationship. Or maybe, after the initial fervor, we would have realized that we weren't as compatible as we seemed during that magical week at the resort. What I know for sure is that the life I've built with Jack is rich, full, and deeply satisfying. It's not perfect, no life is, but it's authentic, it's ours. Every challenge we face, every obstacle we overcome together, only strengthens our connection. Today, looking back, I see that week at the resort was a turning point in my life. Not because it made me want a different life, but because it made me value and invest in the life I already had. It made me realize that true happiness isn't in constantly seeking new emotions or intense passions, but in cultivating and deepening the love that already exists. Jack and I continue our journey together, facing the ups and downs of life as a team. Our children are growing up, bringing new challenges and joys. We're aging, seeing our bodies and faces change, but the love between us only grows. Sometimes, when we're gathered as a family, laughing at some inside joke or simply enjoying each other's company, I feel a wave of gratitude wash over me. I look at Jack, at our children, at the life we've built together, and I know, deep in my heart, that I made the right choice. The overwhelming passion I felt for Ethan that week was intense and exciting, but what I have with Jack is lasting, deep, and true. It's a love that has withstood the test of time, that has survived crises and celebrated victories. It's a love that I choose every day, consciously, with all its imperfections and challenges. And so, I continue my journey, grateful for the lesson I learned on that trip to the resort. Grateful for having had the strength to make the difficult but right choice. Grateful for Jack, for our family, for our life together. And, in a strange way, even grateful for Ethan and the role he unknowingly played in my story. Because in the end, this is my story. A story of choices, of growth, of true love. A story that continues to be written every day, with every choice I make, with every moment I share with Jack and our family. And as I watch the sunset from the porch of our house, with Jack's hand intertwined with mine, I know that I wouldn't trade this life for any other in the world. Because this is my love story. Imperfect, challenging at times, but deeply true and satisfying. And I wouldn't change any of it. As the years pass, I find myself reflecting more on the journey that brought me here. The memory of that week at the resort, of Ethan, has faded into a distant dream, like a movie I once watched but can barely recall the plot. What remains vivid is the awakening it triggered in me, the renewed appreciation for the life I had chosen. Jack and I have grown older together, our hair graying, laugh lines deepening around our eyes. But when I look at him, I still see the young man I fell in love with all those years ago. His eyes still light up when he sees me, and his touch still sends a warm comfort through my body. Our children, Michael and Emily, are adults now, carving their own paths in the world. Watching them navigate their own relationships, I sometimes wonder if they'll face the same crossroads I did. I hope that if they do, they'll have the wisdom to recognize the value of a deep, enduring love. There have been more challenges over the years, of course. We've weathered health scares, financial setbacks, the loss of parents. But each trial has only served to strengthen our bond, to remind us of the vows we made to stand by each other in good times and bad. I've watched friends chase after the excitement of new relationships, leaving behind partners of decades for the promise of rekindled passion. Some found happiness, others regret. It's made me appreciate even more the slow-burning fire of a love that's been tended to over years, the comfort of a shared history, the security of a hand that's always there to hold. Jack and I have worked to keep our relationship alive, to not take each other for granted. We still have date nights, try new things together, surprise each other with small gestures of love. We've learned to communicate better, to voice our needs and frustrations before they fester into resentment. There are still moments when I catch myself wondering, what if? What if I had chosen differently that night on the boat? What if I had pursued the passion I felt with Ethan? But these thoughts no longer bring guilt or regret. Instead, they serve as a reminder of the conscious choice I make every day to love Jack, to build this life with him. I've come to understand that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice, an action, a commitment renewed each day. It's choosing to see the best in your partner even when they're at their worst. It's choosing to forgive, to be patient, to work through the hard times. It's choosing to fan the flames of love even when the initial spark has dimmed. As I sit here, watching the sun set on another day of our shared life, I feel a deep sense of peace. The passion and excitement I felt with Ethan was real, but it was a fleeting moment. What I have with Jack is a lifetime of moments, of joy, sorrow, laughter, tears, all woven together into the tapestry of our shared existence. I think about the young woman I was, standing on that boat, torn between desire and duty. I wish I could tell her that the choice she's about to make is the right one. That the path ahead won't always be easy, but it will be rich with love, growth, and fulfillment.